What's up, everybody? This is the Mad Dawg Show. Welcome home to our fellow ferocious dogs of the Dog Nation. We're coming to you live from the bunker where we hunkered down in the friendly confines of the Park Group Studios in Macon, Georgia. And now, here's your host, the Mad Dawg.
Victorious greetings, Bulldog Nation, and glory to old Georgia. This is the Mad Dawg Show, and it is the show for rabid dogs by a rabid dog. Now, we've got a big agenda tonight, so let's get to it. First, our detractors say that we, the Bulldog Nation, are snobs. Our enemies say that, and I'll explain. Next, we're going to have a recap of the big game. We're going to do scores of note from last week. We're going to do an injury report. We're going to do interviews with Vance Levy from Bulldog Illustrated, Bert Hodges from the Dog Bone, and Buffalo. He's just Buffalo, and I have no idea what he's going to say. Next, for the first time ever, we will have the Mad Dawg Top 10. We will also have several other top 10s that might not be what you would expect. And then finally, last but not least, if we have enough time, the Kirk Herbstreit story that will rock the college football world. Now, let's get to it. First, the whole Georgians are snobs narrative. Georgians are such snobs, our enemies whine. They're arrogant. They brag too much. They shouldn't act that way because they underachieve and blah, blah, blah. And to our many detractors who are out there, I will just say, well, allow me to retort. Let's use an analogy. Let's just say that there is a girl named Georgia, a true Southern lady. Georgia is the hottest chick at the party. She is a smoke show, as the kids these days say. All the ugly girls are so kind and respectful to Georgia's supermodel face, and they compliment her butt. They're really just super jealous and petty and fake. Why? They realize that they're inferior. Other than Georgia's jaw-dropping, traffic-stopping beauty, she's also as cool as a breeze up in the Highlands. So, let's talk about her hometown, Athens, the classic city in Clark County. First, we're going to kick it off with the music. Athens has great music, much like my hometown of Macon, Georgia. Bands that you may have heard of, like REM, the B-52s, Widespread Panic, other maybe not so well-known bands that were back in my day, like All Good, The Grapes, White Buffalo, Colonel Bruce Hampton and the Aquarium Rescue Unit. Don't sleep on them. They've got famous members. I'll get into that later. If we were to look at Georgia's whole state as far as the music that she has there, then we're going to start having to drop like James Brown, Gladys Knight, India R.E., Kelly Rowland, Trisha Yearwood, rock and rollers like Driving and Crying, the Black Crowes. Now I'm going to blow your mind with this next group of dogs that they are flat out earth conquerors. So in no particular order, guys, let me just start out and say Ludacris, Outkast, and CeeLo. Now that's a platinum list if you stopped right there, but we don't stop. We got Gucci Mane, Future, Young Thug, Jermaine Dupri, Lil Jon, T.I., Jeezy, Lil Yachty, Offset, Quavo, Waka Flocka Flame, Killer Mike, 2 Chainz, Soulja Boy, Bubba Sparks, and Rehab. Shout out to Houston County, Hoko, yo. And one more guy, last but certainly not least, the artist formerly known as Kanye West. Now he goes by Ye. Sup, Ye. Now, that's the short music version of why Georgia might be called a music snob, and I left out country music because we ain't got all night. However, after Georgia's music, let's talk about her food and its next level, y'all. I don't have to explain to anyone listening why Georgia's music and food is second to none. Keep in mind, it's possible that some Yankees might be listening, and so we're going to have to really break this down for them because they like stuff like cream of wheat and sauerkraut. It's pathetic. So here's what Georgia grows. And by the way, this food is prepared with love and with soul from the hands that made it. Based on how good our food here is, you could make the case that it's a culinary drug of sorts. Georgia grows watermelons, peaches, strawberries, blueberries, peanuts. She also grows a ton of cows and chickens. Wild hogs, we don't have to grow them. We hunt them so they don't take over our cities. Oh yeah, and lastly, and this is important, Georgia also grows trees. I know you can't eat them, but just bear with me for a second. She also grows cotton. So to recap, in a pinch, Georgia can grow her own clothes. She can grow her own trees to make her own house. She'll grill steaks and chicken. She'll barbecue hogs. She'll have the finest, freshest fruits for breakfast. And oh, I forgot. We grow a lot of corn here, so we'll have more grits than we can eat. Now, boiled peanuts. Nothing more needs to be said. In conclusion, Georgia is totally self-sufficient because we have ports as well. So Georgia's music and food and shelter are better than anywhere on planet Earth. And if Georgia doesn't have it, she'll just get it shipped in from Savannah from anywhere on the planet. Georgia doesn't need the internet to survive. Let that sink in. So in conclusion, Georgia is not a snob. She's just better than everybody else. You hear me, you landlocked Tennessee hillbillies? That goes for you too, Kentucky. What are you looking at? Florida? You don't even have mountains in Florida. Let's talk about Florida for a second. You have mesh tank tops, acid wash jorts. You like to rock mullets and way too much male jewelry. In summary, you're an embarrassment to the conference. Mississippi, oh, Mississippi, you've known since the beginning of time that you are not at the same level that we are. Missouri, stop it. Sidebar. First and last time, I will use the word Mizzou on this show. Never use that word. Arkansas, I love you, but you don't have beaches. Louisiana. Now we pause for a second and we will say we've got max thoughts and prayers going out to the folks of Louisiana after Hurricane Ida. Folks, if you can do anything to help them, please do. There's tons of charities out there. Donate and do what you can. And lastly, Alabama. I'll be nice and I'll just point out that you don't have a single professional sports team. You're better than that, Alabama. You're better than that. So there you have it. Georgia, we're not snobs. We're just better than you. Period. So now let me tell you about the Sanford Company, which is our presenting sponsor. Which means that John Neal is our presenting sponsor, and we are extremely grateful for that, John. The Sanford Company was founded in 2002 by John Neal, a DGD, as an independent insurance group in Macon. John is also an esteemed graduate of UGA. He was already a highly experienced healthcare executive when he formed the company. Since its formation, it has steadily grown into a hugely successful firm with a multitude of insurance products. Things like personal insurance for auto, home, health, and life, as well as commercial business insurance products. Additionally, Sanford Company has been on the leading edge of the captive insurance market. This boutique product is custom made for only the most successful companies. The Sanford Company also pioneered mobile dentistry. What is mobile dentistry, you say? Well, folks that are in nursing homes, they can't always get to the dentist. So John came up with a way to bring the dentist to the nursing home, a house call. John's team brings the dentist on site and they stay on site until what they have to do is done. John has literally stocked the cupboards at the Sanford Company with DGDs, starting with his two sons, Ford and Smithson. President and partner Mike Kaplan is also there. He's a DGD graduate and has been to more Georgia home games than anybody I know. You're my boy, Blue. The list of DGDs at Sanford Company goes on and on. Jimbo Walker, Rob Wilkin, Beverly Michael. I could go on forever, but I'm running out of time, so I'll conclude with this. I know John Neal very well. I've done a lot of business with John Neal. And when you work with Sanford Company, you're working with the best. The sea turtle is their mascot. They're known for their long lifespans, and they embody patience, wisdom, and endurance. Those are 3 things that you're going to get with the Sanford Company. Give them a call today. I promise you won't be disappointed. Next up, we have Vance Levy. If you don't know Vance, let me just tell you, he's the founder and the editor of Bulldog Illustrated. If you are a rabid dog fan and you don't know about Bulldog Illustrated, well, then shame on you. It is like the Bulldog Bible each week for what you need to know about the game, all the intel, all the information, and I love it. Vance is my fellow Bulldog since our days in Athens back in the 90s. How you doing, my Bulldog brother?
Oh, man, doing great. What's there not to love? And, oh, by the way, Georgia was better both on the fan and on the field in Charlotte, North Carolina on Saturday, all weekend, matter of fact.
I love it. Tell us about it.
Well, we rolled in Thursday and, without a doubt, it was 20-1 Bulldog on a Thursday.
Of course.
Again, Friday morning, Friday lunchtime, still heavy dog. I will give Clemson fans credit. They started rolling in that night. Good showing on Saturday. I mean, I don't think we redded it out, but the stadium, that is. But when the fourth quarter light show came on, there were a lot of lights, and I guess maybe some Clemson fans didn't know any better and were participating. Because if you go by the lights, it was 80-20 for sure.
Well, nobody's ever called them the Yale of the South, but I digress. Continue.
Well, you got to give them credit. They stuck around. I tell you, I mean, that game could have gotten out of hand, but man, as advertised, 2 great defenses. As I wrote in the new issue that'll be out tomorrow and Macon, Athens, it's already out digitally. At the end of the day, Clemson couldn't make the stops to give their team the ball. So, yes, our young offense, mainly our skill. I mean, man, we played just a ton of young skill players out there. But when we needed those yards to end the game, we got them. And so there's just a ton to build on. You just got to be optimistic that we're going to get some guys back. But how awesome that those young guys performed well. I mean, it was incredible.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's great to see Brock Bowers out there, Ladd McConkey, on and on out of the receiver room because we're just so beat up.
Yeah, and I just got off the press conference with Kirby. He was not too happy with today's practice. He said yesterday's was better. My question with him was, and I don't think that he's necessarily said it, but he did confirm our number 2 is Carson Beck.
Okay.
And then, of course, said Stetson is, right there. I forget the terminology he used as far as some sort of reps, but I found that kind of interesting because, he probably hadn't been asked it much, but I know people out there are curious about that because, hey, at some point we could find ourselves needing the next guy up at quarterback as well.
Right. Hopefully not. We need more stability there this year. That would be nice.
Absolutely. And, JT, I think, played pretty strong. Timing was off with a few folks, but he, other than the one pick, he led the team when you wanted him to. And we were able to kind of move in spurts, and as was Clemson there in the second half. But, defense reigned, and ours was better than theirs on Saturday night. And, I mean, geez, the speed. Holy moly.
Yeah. So talk to us about that. I mean, are you speaking about just our front 7?
Yeah. Well, I mean, really just everybody breaking to the ball. And it was interesting. I guess it was maybe last night listening to Herb Street call the Ole Miss game. he was talking about Alabama in this instance, but he was just saying, as he's gone around to practices, he's noticed some teams in camp were hitting and some weren't. And he pointed to, you go to an Alabama practice and they're laying the wood, and, it showed on day one. And I would have to say, I'm not, Kirby doesn't let the media go to any of the stuff. So I can't confirm how much we were hitting out there, but we sure looked like we were, we showed up ready to play. And I'm not at all implying that Clemson wasn't, but just the way we were just after the ball, just endlessly in such a big game with lots of talent. That was my joke to everyone ahead of time. Both coaches, neither one of them knew what they had. They both just knew they have a lot. And our guys, Nakobe, Scene, it was their time to shine, and they did. And what more would you want out of them than when the big lights were on? That was just a big time football game to start the season.
It was, and for me, and I've said this to anybody that would listen last week, for me, what it boiled down to is stop their run, make him pass, and when he's passing, make him be running for his life and thinking about who's going to hit him. And it was like they were reading my mail. Obviously, Kirby and I think a lot alike. Sometimes he'll even confer with me on schemes and things of that nature. Just kidding. But we had them running for their lives. DJU was running for his life, and he wasn't used to, I don't think, playing with a hostile crowd like that. Last year was just different.
Yeah, and I think Kirby even said that, or he definitely said it a couple of times in his post-game presser, is that they were able, Coach Lanning and their game plan were really able to confuse him. And I was just watching the first half earlier, and you could definitely tell that, obviously the pressure was there, but then because of that, even when it wasn't there, his decision-making, and Herb Street was on top of it big time. Just, he was a second or two behind and wasn't making, the quick read or whatever. And I was surprised that he didn't run the ball more. I would have thought they would have had some stuff designed for him that would have loosened up, just the pin your ears back mentality and granted, I say that, but we were still very disciplined when we were applying pressure to kind of keep him bottled up. But yeah, like I said, I was a little surprised they didn't have some planned runs just to, give him the feeling of getting in the game. He really didn't ever really get into the game in a good rhythm until,
right.
In the second half when they had, they got some stuff going.
Yeah, it felt like he never really found his groove. Anytime he was back there, he was thinking about who was about to hit him. He had zero time. If we weren't sacking him, we were about to sack him as he was getting rid of the ball.
Yep. And, now it's, you turn the pages a little bit. You have to. And, of course, that's what the coaches and the players are all singing in the media. But it's true. You've got a really talented, UAB team. They've won their conference 2 out of 3 last years. I'm looking forward to see how our guys react to hearing how great they are this week and seeing if that translates into them kind of coming out and struggle, or is this team really that dialed in that, hey, yes, there's an opponent that, on paper that, I don't even know what the line is, but you can never discount these teams that have players that were either didn't work out at Division I or they were just, a few inches in height or arm length. The first thing when Kirby came here, he let everyone know how much he believes in specific body types, length of arms. And so you've got UAB teams like that have guys that are just as athletic that just missed on a couple of those important factors. So again, I look forward to seeing how we react and, love that we're going to have a full stadium. It's Charlotte was incredible just because last year was just so, just odd.
Strange. Yeah, it was strange. Yeah, and I'm sure Kirby will be reminding them all this week, speaking of length and inches, that ball that Chris Smith picked, if it's 3 feet higher, Ross is taking that one to the house, and Clemson's beating us 10-3. And we're sitting here, and this is the world's largest group grief counseling session right now. I mean, it was that close.
Well, thankfully for your debut show, that didn't happen.
No, we would have just canceled it. We would have canceled it altogether. There'd have been no point.
But, getting back to Charlotte, I mean, the scene was incredible. I mean, it just, lots of college kids, lots of, big tailgates from people you see every year. I mean, it was completely back to what you remember, and hopefully Athens is going to be that for sure. I wrote in my little editor's note, come early and spend often. The pandemic hadn't been great on any community, but these football games mean a lot to the Athens community. So hopefully people are going to get here, and the 3:30 gives some people the opportunity to come in and come out if they don't want to stay. But of course, the David Dukes of the world, we encourage you to book a hotel too.
Right. Well, I can tell you, based on I've got a freshman up at Georgia, Law, also known as the Law Dog, and he went to the game, and I can promise you that he spent money up there at an alarming rate to match the alarming rate that he's already been spending it in Athens. So the Wilsons are doing their part to prop up the economy in the Bulldog Nation. Absolutely.
Yeah. Charlotte was. I ended up my niece and some of her friends. I hooked up with them after the game, and needless to say, I was popular. Thankfully, every bit of ticket money that my buddy gave me in cash was gone by the end of the night.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that town was eating everybody's cash, and it's good to have that back. I mean, the economy needs it. We need it psychologically. I mean, just to get everybody back out and going. But anyway, don't get me started on that. So UAB, we've turned the page. They're coming to town, well coached. They've got 17 starters returning. They got a bunch of super seniors returning from a program that's literally back from the dead. I mean, they ceased football operations around the 2010s and just brought it back around 2015. This is the game that in the past we would come out and lay a big fat egg. And that obviously is what we cannot do. So, I mean, what do you feel like are the keys to more than anything, getting them mentally prepared?
Well, you just got to be crisp everywhere, and that starts with special teams. That Clemson game, the punting and the fielding down there on the goal line. I mean, us having them down there, which actually was the Georgia end zone, was huge.
It was.
Because basically it took them, a quarter and a half before they were able to flip the field. So it's just those kind of things. You got to make your field goals. You got to the punts have got to when we're trying to pin them. And then that gives you the opportunity to do what we're going to do this year, and that's we're going to wreak havoc on the line of scrimmage. Everybody, as advertised, we prove that we got some people that are going to come after you, and then offensively, you just. Hopefully we're going to be able to work in more of the backs. I think you and I talked a little bit earlier. Right. I would have liked to see Milton get the ball a couple more times. I think he only had 6 carries.
Right.
I know the 3 that I just finished watching in the first half, he definitely found the crease and jiggied a little here or there to get, 9-10 yards. But Zeus had a solid game too, not discounting him at all. But yeah, it would be great to, really see those backs kind of show what they're all about, because they had a good, solid game. But Kirby, all the few times I got to talk to Kirby, and then during camp, and then the one time I talked to Monk, and my question was all about the lack of explosive plays for our running backs the last couple of years. To their credit, they both confirm you're absolutely right. And to win big time football games, you got to have them. So, and then even at the end of the Clemson game, Kirby brought up still needing explosive plays. So, that's what I would love to see, is to see our running backs get some of those and, kind of get some rhythm and some positive, because since Sony and Chubb, we just simply hadn't had a bunch of them. Been very productive, but not a bunch of, as I like to call them, back-breaking plays, be it in a tight game or when you have somebody down by 10 midway through the third quarter, 70-yard touchdown, game over.
Right. And it's almost good news, bad news. The good news is we got a lot of great backs. The bad news is we got so many, it's hard for any of them to get in a groove. Like, I'd like to see Kendall Milton, get some consistent carries, maybe a couple series in a row, and that just doesn't happen. And I guess that's just the world we live in.
Yeah, I think they're committed to it. I think I was that way going into camp. We need to settle on a couple of them, but once we had all these injuries at receiver, I'm darn happy we've got a staple of them now, because we got a couple more receivers go down. I mean, we might have to really rely on the run, which of course then the healthy or the more fresh you come in helps. But yes, it would be fun to see one of these guys, get a couple, 2-3 series in a row just to see what they can do.
Yeah, if we get any thinner at receiver, we might have some of the backs go into the receiver room. I mean, it's downright, it's scary, but they're getting better. We'll get to that shortly on the injury report. But
man, those young guys played great. I mean, they really did. So, and you got to think Kyrus is getting close. I mean, they wouldn't have had him on special teams.
Right.
Kirby talked about that. I mean, he was our best. Obviously he's sure-handed. That's why they went with him. But they wouldn't have him out there if he wasn't close to getting into fighting weight to get back as a contributing receiver.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fine line between when you really put them back out there and do you risk it against UAB? I mean, I think if they're well enough to go, you have to, so that they're even more ready with game speed for South Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, and as last year, I mean, it drove us all crazy, but I mean, they and we'll never know the true story, but they did not rush JT back, and when you kind of, it's sort of the same coaches speak, and I'm not at all being negative towards it, but you can tell that they're very cautious and very disciplined with how they bring people back from injuries. And I mean, as a parent, I'm sure that means a lot to those kids. I mean, we as fans, we want them out there and rub a little dirt on it. They're okay. But,
right.
They got lots of people that are paid plenty of money to tell them when it's right, both physically and mentally.
Right. Right. Well, what would you say is your biggest key to not only winning this week, but making a statement?
You got to get the passing game going a little bit more, I think, for sure. I think the defense is going to give us plenty of opportunities to have the football. Now it's just getting in some rhythm. There were some throws JT missed, not a ton, but,
right.
That was a big stage. And depending on what side of the field you are, I did notice when just watching when Jack Pod missed that field goal, which after making the big one in Atlanta, I was like, well, karma says you might miss this one, and he did. But after watching it today, I'd forgotten he was on the Clemson side of the field, and it was loud.
Well, and you made a good point earlier today when you said, last year, kicking that field goal against Cincinnati was like kicking it in practice because there was nobody there. I mean, it's huge stage, first game jitters, hostile crowd. Hey, the way I look at it, you could say that Pod won the game 4-3 with his field goal and his extra point. Love it. Yeah. Don't worry about that miss, Pod. We love you.
Yeah, and Kirby, somebody asked Kirby about him today, and I mean, he couldn't have said more about his work ethic, just how he approaches every practice. So yeah, there's no concern. I mean, the fact of the matter is, you're not going to make them all. As you and I talked about, missing them early is not the you want to make them all, but when they count the most, that's when you want them.
Exactly. And that's what he's done. Well, hey, Vance, thanks for coming on today. I want to remind everybody, go out and grab Bulldog Illustrated. If you don't know about it, you've been missing out. You got to have it if you want to know what's going on with the Bulldogs each week.
And then if I can just add, if you want to get it digitally, all you got to do is go to our website, and you can find where to sign up for our newsletter. And then every Tuesday, you get a newsletter with each new issue.
Perfect. Go
luck.
out and get it. All right. Go Dogs.
See you, man. Enjoy it.
Yes,
all
sir.
Right,
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So next up, let's get to it. The recap of the big game. So these big games rarely live up to their big hype. Almost never. This one did. And in ways that, I mean, no one expected. Almost 40 points behind the over-under, 51.5. We ended up with 13. No offensive touchdowns by either team. No Clemson touchdowns, period. Shut out for the first time in 11 years. That's historic. That's noteworthy. Just a good old-fashioned bare-knuckled fist fight. The winner eats and the loser doesn't. And by the way, Vegas didn't think we were going to win either. They didn't think we were going to cover, and we did both. So we covered, we won. Again, calm down, dogs. Don't get out over your skis. A couple of feet higher. Justin Ross is dancing in that end zone, and we're here crying over our 10-3 loss. I'm sure Kirby's telling the Dogs the same thing. So we're giddy. We should bask in the glorious glow of this monster win until the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one, and the next one, and the next one, so that we can get back to Atlanta in the SEC championship game, probably against the Pachyderms from Alabama. Again, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's talk about the Dogs who balled the bloop out. First up, Chris Smith, the senior, who jumped the route of the Clemson receiver, and that canine snatched that bone, and he galloped 74 yards to his new doghouse, which was the end zone. And I want to tell you something. It measured on the Richter scale in Charlotte. The pure joy that I experienced when I saw that he was going to take it to the house is on par with, wedding day, birth of my kids, Sony Michelle sealing the deal in California. It was a big deal, and it felt good, real good. I freaked my wife out. I went so bonkers. She's seen me go bonkers many times, but this time I was like your dog when it makes a kind of a different bark, and then you're like, something's up, and then you look outside and there's a possum hissing on your back porch. It was like that. Now, what made all of this possible, like I said earlier, was the relentless pressure that we put on DJU. If we weren't sacking him, we were making him think we were going to sack him, and we got in his head, plain and simple, 6 dogs, 7 sacks. Going to read their names so I don't miss one. Nolan Smith, Jordan Davis, Trayvon Walker from Thomaston, Adam Anderson, Jalen Carter, Nakobe Dean got 2. It was an absolute feeding frenzy of rabid junkyard dogs, and it was a thing of beauty. And we didn't just shut down their running game. We never let it get started. Total rushing yards, 2. 2 rushing yards. Their average yards per rush, 3 inches. 3 inches. That's insane. Don't worry about our offense. Everybody wants to complain about it. Again, the receiving room is just depleted with injuries. Brock Bowers was the bright, new, shining light of the tight end room. We've been hearing about him all spring, all summer. You're like, surely this guy's not going to live up to the hype. And then he did. The receivers are going to gain strength as the season unfolds and they come off the injury report. Running backs look good, like we talked about. We didn't run all over them, but it bears repeating. Clemson had 11 returning starters on a Brent Venable coach team. 11 returning starters. Brent Venable. If you know football, you know what I'm talking about. The defense is as good as any defense we're going to play, with maybe the exception of Alabama. The bottom line is we ran when it mattered and we ran out the clock, and that's what championship teams do. JTD was solid. 22 of 30, 135 yards. Yes, he had a pick, but all in all, he took what they gave him. He even said, they threw a soft defense out there that we really weren't expecting them to run. They weren't giving us anything down the field. And so, it is what it is. We won, and we're going to continue to improve on the offensive side of the ball. Like we said, yes, Pod missed a field goal, but kicking for the first time in front of a full stadium, half of which was hostile. First game jitters. Giving him a pass, of course, because he deserves it. Because, again, final score, Pod 4, ugly orange team from a neighboring state 3. Love you, Pod. Jake Camarda was an absolute weapon. He put on a punting clinic, and that is why he is an All-American. Now, I want to talk about the scores of teams that won't be in my top 10. But first, I'd like to talk to somebody who goes by the name of Bert Hodges. I've known him as well since Athens. I've known him since Aspen, and he has put out something that dog fans must have as well, and that is the Dog Bone Online. It is a clearinghouse of dog articles from everywhere brought to one place. And I didn't realize until recently that was Bert. So bring Bert on for us. What's going on, Bert?
David, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. I can see you a little bit. I can hear you good. That's all that matters. How's everything going?
Everything is great. Everything's good. Good Tuesday.
So tell me how the idea for the Dog Bone started.
Well, I'd say it probably started, well, I know exactly. It started back in 2003 at the Masters tournament that year, oddly enough. The tournament wasn't very memorable that year, but some of the off-the-course activities were. You may remember that was the year that Martha Burke and the Now organization decided to boycott Augusta National for their all-male membership policy.
Okay.
So they decided to protest the tournament, and they petitioned to protest out on Washington Road and on the gate in front of Augusta National. Well, after they submitted their protest petition, all these crazies came out of the woodwork and started submitting protest petitions as well. You had a group of Elvis impersonators that wanted to protest. A guy that was protesting Martha Burke. There was a guy who was protesting for the Iraq War because it was during the Iraq War. So anyway, all those crazies came out, and my buddy Deke Wiggins, who you know, lives in Augusta, and Deke was with some friends one night, and they were talking about it, and he thought that it was getting a little ridiculous, and so he came up with a group called PART. It was called People Against Ridiculous Protest. And the group started gaining a ton of traction. Like, he did radio interviews across the country. National reporters were writing articles about him. He petitioned to protest in front of Augusta National as well. And so it forced the sheriff to move all the protests off of the property down the road to this vacant lot that Augusta National provided for him. And so we showed up on Saturday morning for the protest really early. We stuck a banner out there. It said, "Look at all these ridiculous people." The New York Times photographer was out there. He took a picture of us, and we made it in the New York Times. Well, we had a big party. Deke created a website. It gained a ton of traction. But out of Deke creating that website, we started thinking about other ways that we could use the internet and make some other websites. So that morphed into another website called fallweddingsuck.com. Just for we were about 30 years old at the time, and we were getting invited to a ton of fall weddings,
Right.
And everybody was hating these fall wedding invitations that were coming on major dog weekends. And so he created a site, created a message board for the site, and people flooded the message board from across the country with all of their situations about being invited to a wedding when such and such game was going on. So that was kind of hilarious. We then invented this fictitious Georgia Tech fan called Doyle Rainey. And Doyle showed up on the dog vent back in the early 2000s. And Deke I think Deke created a handle on the dog vent for him and then created a website for him. And he had all these nerdy Georgia Tech friends that would talk trash about the dogs.
Right.
And a lot of dog fans thought he was real. And so at the Georgia Tech game in 2003, Doyle said he was going to be there. It was in Atlanta. And all these Georgia fans that had been on the dog vent came to the game thinking they were going to run into Doyle Rainey. And this Deke had literally Googled man on Google and found a picture of a man and put it up there as Doyle Rainey, just this really nerdy looking guy. So all these guys were looking for this just made up person at the game. Well, that game ends. We're trying to move on to the next thing. My wife's like, why don't y'all use, all this energy for something productive?
Right.
And we're like, what? She's like, why don't you do like a Georgia site? And we're like, okay. Still in the early days of the internet, and there were a few blogs out there. I would say Georgia Sports Blog, Dog Sports, Get the Picture, and then some beat writers were out there. But it was really early there in the process, and there wasn't a lot of content then.
Right.
But Deke knew how to develop the website, and so he created the website. The original site was called dogbone.net. And what he did was he would go and copy and paste the links from all the blog writers and all the beat writers and put them in, as you see it on the Dogbone now. It's just, in order throughout the day. And so he would manually do that every day. And he did it for about 4 years. We promoted it on the dog vent and got a lot of traction. People started coming there because it was like a one-stop shop for dog news. You didn't have to go all over the internet. You can go to the Dogbone and see all the beat writers, all the blog writers. You can get everything there. Well, Deke did that for about 4 or 5 years, and then he had a couple of kids. Time got away from him, and he was like, I'm done doing this. It was a total labor of love. He had a couple of ads and that weren't really paying the bills, and so he said he was done. And so I called Charles Jones, who and Stephen Hamm, and we kind of put our heads together, and we were like, we can't let this thing go down. We got to figure out a way to keep the Dogbone going. And so what we did is we raised a little money, and we found a web developer who could automate that process. So instead of Deke doing it manually, it just picks up the article once it posts, and it posts it on the site.
Right.
So that was a game changer for us. Now we could kind of put additional articles in as we needed, but the main stuff was flowing through each day. We also hired Travis Fain, who is a Georgia blogger, newspaper writer, and Grady School of Journalism major. And he manages the site. And so he does all the technical stuff, page layout, ads, all that good stuff. And so it's been humming along since then, since the second version of the site for about 12 or 13 years now. So we're coming up on 20 years in, I guess, in 2023.
That's amazing. I remember it was probably 2007. I was working with Kay Shockley, used to play baseball for Georgia, and I said, "Man, I'm having to go all these places. Do you know one place I can go?" He goes, "Man, you got to go to the Dog Bone. It's got everything there. It's like the Drudge Report for college football, specifically the Drudge Report for Georgia Bulldog football." And I was like, "Oh my God, this is heaven! I go one spot and get everything, from articles to blogs."
Yes, and if you're a big fan of Greg Blue, which a lot of people are, then you've seen Greg Blue featured prominently on the Dog Bone over the years.
Oh yeah,
that's Deke's favorite player, and so Deke finds a way to incorporate Greg Blue into some point during the season. Greg Blue will make an appearance.
We need to get Greg Blue on this show. Greg, if you're out there.
I met him at the Georgia-Florida game one year, and we were all together, and he told us that he goes to the Dog Bone, and he's seen all of his stuff on there. So that was a really cool moment for us.
That guy could lay the wood back in the day.
He would make it about 2 minutes into a college game now before he would get ejected.
Right.
He wouldn't be able to play now.
Right. It was his head was a battering ram.
Yes.
he was quite the targeter before there was targeting.
He was. Yeah. Probably the reason the rule was created.
Exactly. Well, Bert, anything you'd like to just kind of tell us about your insight for the year, or how you're feeling? Or, are you feeling what the Bulldog Nation is that we're on the precipice of something special after that win? Like maybe this could be the year that luck finally rolls our way and Tyler Simmons is on sides?
Yeah, I like that we cleared our biggest hurdle during the season right out of the gate. So,
right.
We got that out of the way, and, we knew we were going to be down some players, but we knew looking in the offseason, looking at our two deep on defense, that our defense was going to show up for that game. And what was so pleasantly surprising was they showed up the way we expected them to. And that was a lot of fun to watch. I like the way the schedule plays out for us. And, really just looking to this point, hopefully in the future, where all of these guys that we have down right now come back and we stay healthy. And, at some point, maybe hopefully we get back Pickens, we get back Arik Gilbert, Darnell Washington, Jermaine Burton's healthy, Kyrus Jackson's healthy, Dominic Blaylock comes back. We get all those guys back, and I think we'll be humming on offense.
I think so too. And the good news is, we were able to survive that game without them. And we're just going to get stronger and stronger as they come back and get healthy.
Yeah. Yeah. And you think about our running game, we've got a super strong running game. So if we can pair that with those guys at wide out and tight end, I think we've got a machine on offense.
I think so too. Well, Bert, I appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you telling everybody about my favorite site, the Dog Bone.
All right. We're going to have to put a little promo thing on the Dog Bone up top. Plug the show.
Oh, I think we can make that happen.
We will do that. Yes. Congratulations. Love the setup.
Yeah, I appreciate it. The fantasy is becoming a reality, and appreciate your report from Charleston.
All right. Thank you.
All right. See you next time.
Have a good night.
You too. All right. So next we have scores from teams that won't make my top 10, which is coming up. North Carolina lays a big fat egg, loses to Virginia Tech 17-10. That didn't shock me. I thought they were paper tiger, and they are. Iowa State escaped lowly Northern Iowa by 6 points at home. Disgraceful. Penn State upset Wisconsin in a game that was hard to watch, 16-10. USC was respectable and beaten San Jose State 35-7. Iowa showed us that Indiana is not for real and spanked them 34-6. Washington maybe laid an ostrich egg. How could you sink so low? You just lost to Montana, the Grizz, whatever that is, at home. Season ruined. And that sound you hear is the sound of them kissing that season goodbye. And Sark debuted with Texas and came out with a win and had that over Billy Napier's Raging Cajuns. Keep an eye on Texas, and I'm talking to you, Oklahoma. So now let's talk about Kudu Grills real quick. Kudu Grills is our founding sponsor, our first sponsor. Kudu Grills basically bet on a penny stock. Stebbin Horn is the founder and creator of Kudu Grills. He's a close friend of mine. I've known him for about 40 years. Stebbin is an attorney by trade, and we've done a lot of real estate transactions together. But when the Great Recession hit, Stebbin pivoted away from the legal world and dreamed up the Kudu Open Fire Grill. The Kudu Open Fire Grill has its origins in South Africa, where early humans gathered over 1 million years ago to cook meat over an open fire for the first time. Quite a few years after that, our Macon boy Stebbin was making his way to South Africa to meet the family of the woman he had fallen in love with and found himself loving the culture and the traditions. The communal homemade grills that the friends and family used around an open flame to cook, eat, and socialize in an unhurried way gave inspiration to the Kudu. From there, the whole world took notice, as seen in Esquire magazine, as seen in Forbes magazine, and as seen on everywhere on social media. Stebbin is quite the social media guru. You haven't experienced true grilling until you've tasted food kissed by the fire of the Kudu Grill. Perfect for your backyard and your tailgate. If you don't use Kudu, then, well, your cooking credibility is questionable at best. Fix that and go get a Kudu Grill. Trust me, you'll thank me, and you're welcome in advance. Now, the injury report. Thankfully, it is short. To my knowledge, the only person on the injury report is Tate Ratledge. He suffered a serious foot injury that is going to require season-ending surgery. So keep your head up, big man. You're going to recover. You're going to be back. As Kirby said, he's got a tough 4 or 5 months ahead of him as he starts out his rehab. But he will be back. Great bulldog, Tate Ratledge. And I guess the flip side to the injury report is looking who is going to be coming back to 100%. People that Bert and I kind of touched on, like Kearis Jackson. He's back returning punts. He's not back 100%. Jermaine Burton, he's back. He's playing, but he missed, 30 out of 45 practices. So he doesn't have the game speed yet that he needed. Big Darnell Washington is farther behind Jermaine Burton. I'm hoping he'll be back for South Carolina. Same goes for Tyke Smith. And like we said, they're bringing back Dominic Blaylock slowly, and it makes sense. He's had 2 bad knee injuries. So you just can't rush those things. Then, of course, we got George Pickens, who's still a ways away, and it's miraculous that he's even a possibility given that he tore his ACL in the spring. He's on an incredibly short recovery pace. I predict that he'll see the field by December. I hope. Now I want to talk about Go Clean Co. Go Clean Co. What do they do? Well, here's an example. My house. Catastrophic failure of a shower seal. Second floor, water emptying into my kitchen, onto the kitchen table. No bueno. Insurance claim. I placed the claim. Insurance company requested the quote from CleanCo. The next day, they're there to write it up and turn it in. They negotiated with the insurance company on my behalf. I don't know how much it costs to rip out a shower and replace it, but they do. That's what they do. They do all the work. It's a full-service cleanup and restoration company for residential and commercial customers after disasters. So whether it's water, fire, wildlife, they can restore your home or business quickly and efficiently. Since they were founded in 2009, CleanCo has built a strong reputation for providing exceptional service with professionalism, expertise, and timeliness. Who founded Go CleanCo in 2009? Matt Wiles. How did I find that out? Well, I was renovating some rental property. So I was at Lowe's every day, and every day there was about 5 or 6 Cleanco trucks and vans, and inside there was about 20 guys getting their materials for the day with Cleanco shirts on. And I finally just said, "What is Cleanco? Is this like a national brand?" And the guy laughed. He goes, "No, we're just up the road in Bolingbroke." And I said, "Who owns this company? Give me his number." So I called up Matt, got to know each other, started doing some business together, and we bonded over the dogs. He informed me that he prefers to be known as Wild Dog. So everybody that know Matt Wilds, call him Wild Dog. That's what he prefers. Things are going so well for Cleanco that they will be franchising very soon. So check them out at gocleanco.com. Now, we're going to look ahead to the games this week that will impact the dogs. Week 1 was awesome. Lots of great matchups. Week 2 is the opposite. It pretty much stinks. So the biggest game of the week is Oregon versus Ohio State. I will be pulling for Oregon because Ohio State is, as we know, always overhyped with a schedule that is strong as the virgin daiquiri that your mom fixed you when you were 14. It was weak then, and it's downright laughable now. Iowa State versus Iowa, the only other game worth watching, which is not to say I won't be watching USC at Stanford at 10:30. Ditto Utah versus BYU. And I know I'm not the only one doing that, right? Right. Will I watch 20th ranked Washington go to Mission and try to bounce back? Yes. Will it be a dead count? Will it be a dead count bounce for Washington? Yes. Okay. Going to take a breath on this one. Does Kennesaw State have a chance versus the Georgia Tech Rambling Wreck? Why, yes. Yes, they do. Because Tech just found a way to lose to Northern Illinois at home. Let that sink in. Home opener, Northern Illinois, big fat. For the record, I love all my Tech people. You're all very successful, very well-educated people, but your football team looks to be not so dominant in 2021. Finally, the University of Alabama at Birmingham. UAB, they're 1-0. They beat an FCS team, Jacksonville State. I like their logo, the dragon. I don't like their mascot name, the Blazers. They should just be the Dragons. It's much more intimidating. The Blazers. The Blazers sounds like a closet full of sport coats from some blue blood in Birmingham. Change your name. That team, like I said earlier, returned 17 starters, 11 super seniors. This program didn't even exist in 2015. Now they have $175 million brand new stadium in Birmingham. And let me quote Paul Feinbaum on this, who said, and I quote, "In the history of sports in Alabama, this may be one of the greatest stories ever. It's beyond words." Paul Feinbaum said that. That being said, I expect our dogs to outmatch UAB just based on our recruitings alone. But don't be surprised if UAB hangs in there for a little bit longer than we like. Maybe a 14-3 at halftime. This is the definition of a trap game. But CKS will have the dogs ready. Dogs on top, 38-3. Our goal is no touchdowns this year, by the way. All right. Next up, who we have is a man who only goes by the name Buffalo. Again, I don't know what he's going to say. So please welcome to the Mad Dawg Show, Buffalo. Buffalo, what do you got? Buffalo, is that you? Buffalo, you're on mute.
How about now?
Now we got you, Buffalo. What's going on?
All right. All right. Good to be on the inaugural Mad Dawg Show. Sorry.
Well, welcome. So tell us, Buffalo, I mean, what's on your mind?
Well, I tell you, Saturday night was gut-wrenching, Mad Dog. I wasn't at the stadium like Vance and Burt, but I was here at a friend's house in East Cobb watching the game. And I thought I might fall out. The first half, First quarter, inside the 50 3 times. I look at their overall yards. They have -5 yards, and it's 0-0. Goes on. Christopher Smith works his magic. Halftime comes. Third quarter goes on and on and on. And I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm thinking they're going to swing behind us 10-10. I could see it happening. It was Alabama all over again. I felt it coming. The heat was on. Somehow, we just kept on coming defensively. Make the plays we need to make. The offense shines in the end. I had to go home 100 milligrams of Atenolol. I'm on blood pressure. I had to chop the thing in half, and I had to have another 50 when I got home because I thought I was going to go down.
Look, I mean, that's pretty much everybody. I mean, it was a 3.5 hour panic attack. I mean, you could never relax. I didn't relax until, it was under 2 minutes and we got that last first down, and I knew that we could run out the clock. That was when I started to relax a little. But yeah, I mean, it was one of those games. It just felt like it was going to be one of those games where we found a way to lose, like we've done in the past, and we got over that hump.
We sure did. I thought I would see Justin Ross or Nagata slip past us just one time. I mean, for us to be able to do that the entire night, keep those guys in front. I know Nagata had a pretty good game.
He did.
For us to do that the whole game, I was just in past history, we know what's happened to us lately. We've been so close, and I felt like if we lose this game, we're just not going to be able to take it. Made it through. I want to talk about a few seniors that I was impressed with.
Please
couple
do.
Of guys on defense. And I'm not going to talk about the defensive line. I mean, what can you say about those guys? They were excellent. I mean, I don't think I have much to add to that. Or a lot of the linebackers. I mean, N'Kobe throwing up the Q-Dog twice.
He did.
I hope I'm able to do that. I really like that. That was cool, man. That started back in the 80s, I think, man. I love that when you get a sack and you throw up the Q-Dog. I want to talk about, Amir Speed, a senior, Channing Tindall, Latavius Brenny. Channing Tindall looked like he was shot out of an elephant.
He did. He was flying
when
around.
He made that tackle.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And then if you watch the game on the next play, he comes hard because he's full of adrenaline after that just amazing display of speed.
Yeah.
The guy grabs a handful of 41 from behind. He would have had DJ down, no doubt, if they hadn't held him on the next play. He only played 11 plays, which
that's just crazy.
Is a testament to our defense.
Hey, real quick, I want to tell you, Rob, that Katie Howe on Facebook Live wanted to tell you hello, and I also want you to know that her nickname in Macon is Beaver. Don't ask me why, but she is giving you a shout out on Facebook Live. Yes. Hello, file that away.
I will. Another thing I want to talk about, the offense sputtered. The viewing party I was at, people were complaining about the offense. We can't. We were facing a pretty stiff defense. And for us the offense to finally pull up their bootstraps, go in there, run 9 plays, all on the ground with Zeus and the offensive line going toe-to-toe with some pure fire breathers on the other side, and to push them back 3 first downs, burned all their timeouts. I think that's going to give the offense a lot of confidence. I know it wasn't passing, but give those guys a lot of confidence going forward. And I think it's just going to be a springboard for the rest of the year. That was one of the most impressive drives, even though it wasn't a touchdown, a 45-yard deal that I've seen us do in a long time.
Yeah, that's true. I keep getting distracted because you're getting so much love on social media. We got Gary Hobby saying Hans Hobby says hello to Buffalo. I mean, they're coming out of the woodwork for you.
The T-Man.
Yeah, hubcap.
Help yourself, Gary. Okay.
Help yourself. I forgot about that one.
Yeah.
Way over here, Gary Hobby.
Exactly.
Help yourself.
You know what else? I heard that Harry Carey watched the game from heaven.
What?
On TV? Did you want to? Yeah, he did. And this particular clip that I have, he is remarking on Dabo Swinney after he's upset on Nakobe Dean's kind of late hit on the punt that wasn't called.
Right.
So I don't know if you want to hear.
No, I want to. Oh, definitely. You've teed it up. Let's hear it.
Okay. He's with his co-host Milo Hamilton. He used to do old games back in Chicago.
I can't wait.
Hey, Milo, look down there at Bama. I think he's going to have a myocardial infarction. He's pretty angry about that play. Thinks Jacoby hit his man late. Somebody go get a defibrillator. Hey, this was brought to you by Floor Shine. If you're going to wear shoes, make them Floor Shine. There you go.
I love it. Next time you need big, thick glasses, though, like Harry Carey.
Yeah, I just decided to do this on the fly when I was fumbling with my camera and dropping it. And all that other stuff a minute ago that I was doing.
No, that was spot on. That was perfect.
So, look, the UAB game, looking forward to it. And Vanderbilt, everybody was talking about going to Nashville, but I don't, down the road, I don't know.
We are going to put
that team.
I mean, after what they did to our seniors last year about not showing up for that last game, that was just such poor taste, poor class, just Vandy. I mean, even though you're Vandy, you're better than that. You show up and you take your butt whipping and you go home, but you wouldn't do that. And so you deprived our seniors of their last senior day at their last game in Sanford Stadium. And I got to believe that CKS isn't going to remember that and is going to show up and break the scoreboard.
Well, he will. He probably will. But they're so, at this point, the game the last night, East Tennessee State, 23-3. Wait, what can you say about Vanderbilt that hadn't been said about Afghanistan, man? It's bombed out and depleted. I don't know if I can sit through and watch that team.
They're hard to watch. They should, give up football and we'll trade out of one of the other terrible teams in the ACC, the basketball league. I would trade. I don't know. Yeah, I would probably trade Clemson for Vandy. Just why not?
Yeah, it'd make things a lot tougher. But
let Clemson play a real schedule for once. I said last year on Feinbaum, when you have the Clemsons and the Oklahomas and the Ohio States with their terrible schedules, that in order for their wins to qualify as wins, they should have to cover, because that way they'd be keeping their players in harm's way for an entire game in an effort to cover, and they don't show up at the end of the year fresh as daisies because they played literally half of a season.
Exactly. And I think Dabo would be having a spring blown every week when he faced some real competition every week, and he would.
Oh, there's no question. They'd be so beat up after 4 games. They'd be begging to come back and play Wake Forest or Boston College or some other ridiculous team like that.
Exactly.
Well, Rob, what else you got for us?
I'd like to talk about. Hey, did anybody see Manny Diaz in the Miami game? He's so important. What's going on with this guy? He's got 3 Florida State troopers. Jeff Girard called me and said, "Turn it on, look at him." He's like, "Why does he have 3 Florida State troopers right behind him the entire game?" He's like, "No." He goes, "What are they calling plays?" I think he thinks he's J-Lo now that he's moved to Miami. I haven't seen the cops be that close to the coach the entire. You should see him at the end of the day, end of the half, end of the game. They're right around him like somebody's going to shoot him. Then he gets up on the podium and he says, "Oh, well, the difference in the game was 3rd down. We were pretty close to him. We were real close to him. It had not been, 3rd down, a few here, a few there. They were now 34-3. That's I don't want to talk about Alabama too much because we know how good they looked, and hopefully we'll get to see them at the end of the year. But that was a remarkable some of his comments in the post game. Miami is not back.
They are not back, and kudos to you for even watching that post-game presser. I couldn't force myself to do it. That would have been like watching Penn State, Wisconsin. It's just hard to watch. And by the way, the Facebook Live love keeps coming out. Jeff Bolt says hello. Alex Smith says he's proud of Tatanka spewing knowledge. I don't know what that means. It just goes on and on.
Well, it's amazing. I'm very touched by the heartfelt outpouring of your viewers.
I know.
I hope I hadn't I'm sure other people may have turned it off because of me, but at least we got a few still hanging on.
We got them hanging on, baby. This is all fresh off the internet.
All right. Well, we're real proud of your show, and thank you for inviting me to be on it, and look forward to the next episode. What you got in store for us?
Well, that'll be next Tuesday at 7, and hopefully we'll be doing a look back recap of a Big Dogs win, and then we'll be talking up the annual showdown with the Gamecocks.
Yes, sir.
And
South Carolina.
Hoping to just beat them like a rented mule. But anyway,
we sure should.
Thanks for coming on, Rob, and we'll be seeing more of Buffalo, people. I promise we'll be seeing more of him.
I'll try to hone my technique a little better next time. All right.
No, I like
Thanks, David.
All right. Thank you. See ya. All right. Now, for the first time ever, we're going to have the Mad Dawg top 10 team ranking. So here we go. Let's do this. 10. I'm going to shock you. Florida. Darth Vader's dinosaur lizards are good, but we still don't know how good given the number of bullets they had to reload. Like him or not, Mullen's a great coach. He consistently gets top 10 recruiting classes. And, they were 3 plays away from being in the playoffs last year. 2, if you don't count the shoe throwing debacle, which never gets old and it never will. 9, Auburn. New coach, highly talented, experienced QB, plus Tank, plus an improved Auburn D equals a team that Clemson, Oklahoma, and Ohio State don't want to play. Who has to play both Florida and Auburn? We do. Next, Cincinnati, or as your grandma calls them, Cincinnati. No one wants to play them. They gave us all we wanted last year. They have more super seniors coming back than you can even count. The culture there is you sign up to play football here, you're going to play for 4 years. That's it. So they got guys that have been in the system 4, 5, 6 years. Desmond Ritter, elite athlete, dual threat. If they run the table and then maybe Oklahoma loses and Ohio State loses, they will be knocking on the door, folks, for the CFP. Next, Oregon, playing in the biggest game of the week against Ohio State, who is now ranked. I'll get to that in a second. 6, Oklahoma. I turned the game off at 40-22. Thought it was over. Turned back to get a final score. And what do I see? But the mighty Green Wave has them 40-35, kicking an onside kick, which they recover. And then their luck immediately ran out. Tulane played an admirable game, especially considering everything that they were going through in Louisiana. Oklahoma, you squeaked out a highly questionable win, and that will cause the chorus of people saying that OU can't play defense to become deafening. Again, this 6, it's too high, but their schedule sucks, so it is what it is. They'll probably keep winning. 5, Ohio State. Note that I did not put the in front of Ohio State. The only the around here is the capital THE that goes in front of Mad Dawg. Yours truly. But I digress. The score against Minnesota was deceiving. Minnesota lost their top running back midway through the game to a season-ending injury. No kidding. They had, Ohio State, they had a strip, sack, scoop, and score where the ball literally bounced off the ground into the belly of the Ohio State guy, takes it to the house. I mean, it was just stuff like that, and that's why I call them the luck eyes. This week with Oregon will tell us a lot more. Number 4, Texas A&M, TAMU. They made the old school decision to open the season and play a cupcake. But make no mistake, they're the real deal, And the coming date with Bama is looming. It's going to be one of the biggest games of the year. 3, Clemson. Clemson. That's right. They're still number 3. Why? They played a heavyweight 15-round slugfest and went toe-to-toe with us. And by the way, we're good. So, Clemson, again, 11 returning starters on defense. 11. It's unheard of, and it's Brent Venable calling those plays. Speaking of cupcakes, their schedule is like an 8-year-old girl's birthday party. There's cupcakes everywhere, so they're going to keep winning. Now, number 2, Georgia. What can I say that hasn't already been said? It was a historic win for a storied program. Our defense looked generationally elite. Truly paying like a pack of starving junkyard dogs, just fighting to eat. Offense is fine. We got skill players missing, as I've said. So, number 1, it's not going to shock anybody. It's Alabama. What's also didn't shock anybody is that Saban reloaded his bazooka again and blew out Miami. So, an SEC championship date with Bama looks like it's our destiny, and I love our chances with this team. P.S. Sorry, not sorry, Notre Dame. Your ancient, tired, boring brand is the only reason that you're in the top 10. I question whether you belong there. In fact, I don't think you belong there. You got a good quarterback. You got a good running back. You got a good tight end. I don't know about your defense. We'll see how you fare against Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati is going to beat you, along with possibly UNC. Now, last but not least, I want to make my dog fans salivate with some Fincher's barbecue. Fincher family has been serving up the finest barbecue on earth since 1935. But not only is it the finest barbecue on earth, it's the finest barbecue that's been out of this world. Because back when astronaut Sonny Carter went up into space, they told him he could bring one and only one thing. What did he bring? Fincher's barbecue. So, the Finchers are very special to me. I played football with Doug Fincher, who was just a beast at linebacker. We also lived together in one of the nastiest houses ever inhabited by human beings in Athens. It's a special time. I've also known his brother, Jake Fincher, literally since he was born. We're friends. Jake and my brother played football at FPD together. They're lifelong friends. Look, the parents, Doug and Alice, they raised 2 amazing boys. They taught them how to continue the family tradition of making some of the best barbecue you will ever put in your mouth. Fincher's shoulder on the Christmas dinner table at the Wilson's house goes back as far as I can remember. There was no question, what are we going to eat on Christmas Day? It was going to be Fincher's, and we were going to devour it like the hungry dogs that we are. So their sauces are delicacies. Both the classic Fincher sauce and the off-the-menu hot sauce, which you have to try if you like hot sauce. It's amazing. Yes, it's barbecue, but don't sleep on their burgers. Their burgers have been called the best you might ever wrap your lips around. Fincher's barbecue, DGG serving up melt-in-your-mouth food for almost 100 years. Get you some. I promise that you will thank me. Now, I had more material here. I had more top 10s. Top 10 current players we want on the show. Top 10 former players we want on the show. Top 10 celebrities we want on the show. And then last but not least, I won't even get to what I wanted to talk to you about the most. And that's the Kirk Herbstreit story that's going to shock and rock the college football nation. But I guess I'm out of time. I got to leave something for next week. So with that, rabid dogs, go have a good week and enjoy yourself. Peace out.